Shalom, and welcome to a message for the Parsha for Parshat Shmot. This week, we begin the story of the Exodus. But before we get to the actual Exodus, we have almost an entire Parsha which describes the harshness of the enslavement, the imprisonment of the Jewish people. One of the many things that we learn about in this week's Parsha, and as always, the fact that the Torah shares this information with us, the fact that the Torah finds it important to share with us this part of the narrative tells us that we have so much to learn from it. And the story goes when Moshe, in his early teens, having been brought up in the palace of Pharaoh, finally he's old enough and mature enough to go out there on his own. And not like other teenagers, which are just absorbed with their own selves and finding their own means of happiness and pleasure and enjoyment, Moshe goes out there with one purpose, and that is concern for his brethren, to see how they're doing, to see what he can do to ease, that is, their plight. And he comes out and he sees an Egyptian taskmaster actually hitting a Jew mercilessly. He takes care of business. The Egyptian didn't survive the day. The next day he comes out and he finds two Jews, two rebel rousers. We're going to still hear from them for a while, for a couple of years, until finally they meet their demise as a result of their rebellious nature. But until then, they cause a lot of trouble. But they also teach us a lot of lessons. What did he see? Both of them were arguing. And it went from words, and very quickly it escalated. And it was about to get physical. One raises his hand, about to strike the other. He didn't strike him yet. He didn't actually hit him. And Moshe calls out to him and he says, Rasha, you wicked one. Lama takeh reacha. Why do you hit your friend? Now I ask you a question. Is this teaching us to be judgmental? Maybe he just raised his hand, just making a gesture as if, or giving the appearance as if he's about to hit him, just to scare him, just to show a threatening wave of his hand. But maybe he wasn't going to hit him. The fact is, he didn't actually hit him. So why then is he called a Rasha? Why then is he labeled as a wicked person? And the answer is that there's a very important lesson here, a very powerful lesson. No, not to be judgmental and not to draw conclusions, but it's telling us that inherently, when Hashem gives us something, He gave us various tools: our hands, our feet, our mouths, our eyes. He gave it to us for what purpose? For what reason? What are we meant to do with it? We're meant to do good, to be constantly improving the world in a constructive manner, in a way that brings good to the world. We're meant to do constructive, positive things with the tools that Hashem gave us, aka our limbs, our hands, our feet, and so on. The moment that one takes one of those tools, one of those utensils, for example, in this case, your hand, and you lift it up not with the purpose, not with the intention of doing something constructive, rather something destructive, something negative, something hurtful, that already puts the person in the category of Rasha, you wicked one. What are you doing? That is not why Hashem gave it to you. You are, in a sense, you have just stolen from God, because that's not why He gave it to you. So it's not really yours to do what you're about to do with it, even if you don't carry through. So this is actually a very positive lesson. It tells us how special it is the things that we have, the abilities that we have, the powers that we have, and how important it is to always be focused, to be concentrated on using it for the most positive of manners, to bring in good, to bring benefit to the world, not, God forbid, the opposite.